and gentlemen, we're back and we're Motovlog, and a lot of you guys have been asking for this, and I recorded a bunch of these and I just hated them all, so much like a lot of my videos, they got thrown away. But we're here and I'm on errands today. I gotta go to the bank before work so I can put money in the bank so I can do stuff for YouTube. I'm thinking about buying my way into the alpha for Albion Online. My only concern with that game is I don't like the fact it's being developed on mobile. I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, but to me, whenever there's like these PC games being made for mobile, I just feel like it's all sketchy. Like, that just seems like wasted development time to me. But regardless, what I've seen in the game actually looks pretty impressive, and they're doing a lot of cool things. Shield's open. They're doing a lot of cool things, you know, traditional sort of like Ultima Online type RPG stuff, which is cool. Because like I really wanted Shroud of Avatar to be really awesome, and I think it is a good game, and I've been playing it a little bit, but I think there's a fine line between like a game that's deep and a game that requires you to do just unnecessary amounts of research to play. And I'm kind of on the border right now, but I'm gonna give it more time. But regardless, Albion Online looks pretty cool. I just don't know about paying $50 to purchase an alpha access. And I did actually try and mail the devs, you know, because it's definitely something I'd just like to cover on the channel. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of just the way it's going to go. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes yet. But the real thing I want to talk about today was graphics cards, GPUs, video cards, Nvidia versus AMD, whatever you want to call it, right? That's like a huge dispute. It's like endless war between PC gamers as to which is better. So I kind of just wanted to talk about that. I mean, obviously, in my opinion, any sort of war is silly. Competition is always a good thing. And that's going to be a big part of the discussion, because if we're honest here, the one thing that Nvidia hasn't gotten from AMD over the last several years is competition. The thing about graphics cards, about video cards, right, is there's actually a lot of hardcore numbers. I mean, you can just look at how a card performs, and then there you go. There's your answer as to whether or not it's going to beat another card. And AMD has just been behind. Have they been making the more affordable card? For the most part, yes. Very often their cards are a lot more affordable. When you start talking mid to low end, you can often get an AMD card that outperforms an Nvidia card at a better price. But once you start getting even close to the high end, that's when things start to kind of change up. And I'm not saying that AMD doesn't have a good high-end card right now. They have, you know, the 290X, good card. But kind of the 780 Ti is kind of stomping all of that right now. Again, you have those different price points, but to me, $100 to $150 difference between cards isn't really a lot for people who are looking to purchase cards in the higher end anyways. So I think that also has a lot to do with, you know, the success of the different AMD cards. It's such a nice little S2000. So I mean, it's you know, that whole thing's weird. And of course, AMD just announced the brand new Fury X card, and sadly, I mean, it kind of underperformed, but a lot of people are hoping that when DirectX 12 comes along, you know, we might see some changes, which is actually going to be very soon. Windows 10 is launching on July 29th. Not too long from now. But I'm going to head into my bank. I got to shut this off because they don't allow cameras in the bank, as far as I know. And we will continue this discussion after I deposit my moolah, my credits. Okay, so what were we on about? AMD versus Nvidia. Versus Nvidia. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was about to say AMD versus GeForce. Kind of the same thing, I suppose. So for me, I've owned, you know, a little bit of everything. I've had Nvidia, I've had AMD, I've had reference, I've had non-reference, blah, 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 all that stuff. And I've always just had good cards from them. I still remember my GeForce, my 9800 GT. Yeah, that's an old card. That thing actually went into my brother's rig and played Arma 2 at about 20 FPS for about 2 years. Good card, real good card. The performance was amazing. Considering that card could even run Arma 2 was friggin' outstanding. Despite being 20 FPS, I guess that's kind of a sad thing to say. Not really a PC gamers thing to say, right? I'm supposed to be telling you guys how I've had a Titan and I've had a, no, I don't have that kind of money. Nor would I buy a Titan, but and then I've had a lot of AMD stuff. I have an AMD card right now just because it was affordable. It was a really great deal. I got a 280X 3GB for like 140 bucks. during Christmas. I mean, you can't go wrong with that price. I needed to upgrade from my 7770. Speaking of that, I had a 7770 Ghost Edition, quietest card I've ever had. Great performance. You know, I really loved it. It was a good pairing with my i7. And then going back, I had 4850s in Crossfire when I originally built my rig, and those were pretty high-end cards at the time. I mean, they pulled some serious frames in Crisis, the original back in the day. However, those were the two loudest cards I've ever had. Tied in with the fact that my CPU fan was really loud on my old AMD FX CPU that I had. It was a good PC I built, man. I was so proud of that rig to this day, because it was like, I mean, that was back in the heyday of AMD, right? AMD made cool shit back then. They made really good stuff. They were pushing Infinity at the time. I remember seeing Infinity like with 12 displays playing Dirt 2, I think, at the time, at the very first PAX East. So, you know, that I've had my fair share of cards on both sides. Good, really. I've never had bad cards from either of these companies. And like I said, it really comes down to the numbers, because as much as you want to try and say that, oh, this card always crashed for me, I'm sorry, but that's the people who are, you know, just really die-hard fans of one side or the other, and they always have to say that, when I had AMD, it crashed all the time. My GeForce never crashes. I've never really had serious issues with either side. I mean, there's always those drivers that get released that just suck. And I've had those on the GeForce side, I've had those on the Nvidia side. But right now, the simple fact is, Nvidia is producing higher performing cards when it comes to frame rates. You know, especially when we're talking 4K. You know, the 780 Ti, or the 980 Ti, sorry, is the way to go. But, you know, it's not a cheap card. It's not a cheap card, and I mean, neither is the Fury X. They're two expensive cards, so it'll be interesting to see how much more performance the Fury X gets with the new architecture out of DirectX 12. They keep talking about that. This is really sad. This place closed down because in the winter they had a collapse in one of their greenhouses, and literally all their money went to replacing that greenhouse, and they lost so much product that they made no sales over Christmas. They had no Christmas trees, which is a big money maker around here. And they went out of business. It's kind of sad. They've been there since I was a kid. So that's my side of the story. I don't pick sides. I think it's silly to pick sides. I've always said that. Competition is an amazing thing. And whenever I see a field where there isn't competition, I get upset, because it's like, well, we need competition to come in here, because you know what? The wrong person gets their hands on this company, and they're the only ones right now, sort of a, you know, almost a monopoly. They're going to raise prices. They're going to start screwing over the consumer. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dollar Shave Club. If you're a guy and you shave, you should definitely be using Dollar Shave Club. It'll save you a ton of money. AE86. I saw that the other day. I was like, is that really an AE86? And I think it actually was. Actually, it looks like this is what the other car was. Maybe I should all. Anyways, they had no competition when they launched. Up until recently, they now have Harry's, which functions in the same way as Dollar Shave Club, and that's fantastic. Because again, it's gonna drive both of these companies to do better, to course get business. And I hope that they both do well, because that is very often the case when you have two competing companies, that they can both be very successful, even though they're in the same market. So it's like dog walking day. Everyone is walking their dogs. That's the lady I saw earlier. Everyone just walking their dogs. So that's my thoughts on the whole Nvidia versus AMD thing. People always ask me, like, which do you think is better? And I mean, statistically, just go by the numbers. And I don't think either company is per se better. I think they both produced a lot of great stuff, a lot of great hardware over the years. I just think AMD needs to step up their game as of recently. I hate sitting at lights. I hate this light more than any light. Well, let me know your thoughts, guys. You know, what cards have you owned over the years? I'm not really looking for a sort of you know, I choose this side because it's better war. I just want to hear everybody's stories. You know, what cards have you had? You know, any good memories with a specific card that lets you play something that you probably shouldn't have been playing? And yeah, let me know down in the comment section below. I'm glad to be motovlogging again. I'm just going to throw this up in the middle of the week for you guys, because my weekends have just been a convoluted mess. I still really don't feel good. 3 weeks later and I'm still somehow sick. My whole body aches. Just going out for a ride like this, I come back and I'm like, I'm beat. I'm throwing kettlebell swing exercises, and that's it for me. I am toast. My arms, my legs, it's just, I don't know what this is. I don't want to go ahead and admit that it's walking pneumonia, because I'm not that kind of person. I don't feel like it is, because there's a lot of other symptoms for walking pneumonia that I don't have, like explosive diarrhea. I don't have that, so that's a good thing. Let's take the detour, the scenic route, sir. Can you imagine that? Having a chauffeur that drives you around and you sit in a sidecar. Where to today, sir? Home, Jeeves, home. As my mother would always say. Maybe he's allergic to grass. That's gonna be my assumption. What was I even saying? I'm losing my mind. So yeah, so the weekends have just been busy. Been helping my parents patch up their roof and stuff. So yeah. If you guys haven't been checking out what I've been putting up, we started that Star Wars: The Old Republic playthrough, which is cool because there's 12 XP, which means that we can just blow through the story for the Bounty Hunter before the new expansion comes out, which is in October, which is very exciting. A lot of good games dropping this fall. I've been getting more and more excited. I went from there's like nothing to there's a lot of stuff I'm excited for. So that's it from me. Leave anything you have to say down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.